Last Christmas, I gave you my heart, but the very next day, gave you away. This year, you sent me back tears. I'll give it to someone special. Last Christmas. Good morning, Torbay. Welcome to our very festive edition of Torbay Business Forum's Breakfast Bites. We're here in Elf Central. It's all getting exciting. The Advent calendar starts today, and you can see the exec production team is here joining me to welcome our 50 guests today. We had a wonderful lineup, a wonderful panel. So thanks to Emily, and we've been stressing together for the last half an hour, trying to actually make sure we get all our guests in. It's wonderful to be joined by Angela George, our deputy chair of the forum. And Angela, you will know her so well from Facebook and contacts. She does all of our Facebook posts, our website with husband Mike from IMS Marketing. So it's fantastic support that you give. And of course, Uncle Jim, there in his grotty. He's there ready and waiting to tell us the latest stories from the Rocking Horse City. So Emily, it's been a bit of fun so far this morning, isn't it? Are we good to go?
We are good to go, Steve.
Thank goodness for that. Well, those that don't know me, yes, it's me, Steve, really. Steve Reynolds, chair of Torbay Business Forum. And what are we? We are a bunch of merry volunteers, and all we want to do is to make Torbay great again, not to pinch somebody else's phrase at all. We bring businesses together, both socially and to do business, and also to help our Bay economy grow. We've organised so many events over the years, and this is our 15th virtual event because we know what's happened with the Big C, and no doubt that will come up soon. And it would have been great if we could have done the singing and dancing on stage. Well, it might have been, but maybe this was what it was all about, because as we know, singing is banned at the moment. So you only had to tell me, folks. But so that was my ghost of Christmas past, as I call it, was the jumping out on stage, singing Merry Christmas, everyone, and watching your faces and your jaws drop and hit the floor. So I will never, ever forget that image, as I'm sure you won't, and it will haunt us for years. So, but the ghost of Christmas is yet to come is one of the parts in the Christmas Carol story. And if we don't change, that could happen to us. So everything now is about the new future for the Bay, how we reinvent ourselves and how we absolutely grab the opportunities that come up and take them forward. Now, there's been loads happening during the year. And if we could have the next slide, please, Emily, please. If it will move, yes. Now, we could not produce these events without our sponsors. So there's a special Christmas thank you to all of our sponsors. You can see them there. Torbay Weekly, Accounting for Everything, Andrew Price, Big Wave Media, Bishop Fleming, Conroy Couch Jewelers, Wallens, Edmondson Electrical, Astrality Business. We've got Cavanna Homes. We've got Susan's Flowers, Gallagher's, Insignia. We have South Devon College, SSG Training, and of course, who I've worked for my 42nd year, Barclays, all here to help with these events and put them on. So, and special thanks today to Astrality and of course Cavanna Homes, who are sponsors for December. Now, it's interesting because we've had these events running, and if I can get this right, we've had these events running now for, as I said, since March, 8 months. And we've had quite a band of people coming through. So I think we should celebrate all of those people who have helped make Breakfast Bites so special. So Emily, next slide, please. We have had people from across the Bay. We've had business support. We've had the Bank of England. We've had the British Business Bank. We've had the community. We've had cyber protection. We've had charities We've had manufacturing, the high-tech cluster. We've had Bay Pharmaceuticals, Bay Photonics. It's Bay everything. We've had the NHS, we've had public health. We've got COVID champions coming out of our ears. We've looked at skills. South Devon College, go for it, Em. And finally, and there they all are, fantastic. Give them all in your homes around Torbay, around South Devon. Give them all a round of applause because they made our show possible and they made our show. So thank you all. A big shout out for all our guests. And a couple of them we've got back today. But without further ado, let's go over to Jim in the newsroom to find out what's been happening. Jim, tell us about your ghosts, past, present and future.
Okay, Steve. What a weird morning. It's brilliant. I never thought I saw Steve Darling with the Christmas hat on, which is absolutely sensational. Yes, I'm looking at the past. I mean, I think that the biggest thing in the past was when Bojo stood up in front of the nation and declared that big lockdown on March the 23rd, and it was to change our lives, probably forevermore, in all sorts of different ways. And the way we worked, the way we...
Oh, we got a Zoom freeze.
Time.
Ooh, is that you or is it me?
No, we've just lost Jim, I'm afraid.
Oh no. Okay, well, we've got to keep the show going. Angela, while we try and get Jim back, please do tell us what your Christmas past, present and future would be.
Past, present and future. Well, in the past, we've had, sorry, I hope I've not affected Jim there. I've just pressed my LinkedIn post to say that we're on. And as soon as I did that, he disappeared. So past, bad things, I guess, in the past, obviously transport infrastructure, because people, I think, found it hard to come here. However, with the wonderful new Devon Highway, I think that's made a massive difference, I think, for accessibility. Obviously, if you look at the other aspects that are fantastic about here, it's just seeped in history, so much to do, it's packed area. From a present, obviously the COVID has been devastating for many businesses. However, the resilience and the I think adaptability, the innovation that some businesses have shown have been absolutely outstanding, together with some community spirit, which hopefully Katie will be very eloquent at saying all her hard work and what she's been doing personally. I think if we look into the future, the news yesterday about Arcadia was pretty devastating, I think, for many people around the UK. And that's the big fear, you know, with COVID has, I think, speeded up the whole aspect of how people shop. And I think the high street, it's the whole destination marketing as to why people come to a place. And I think the high street and the devastation that will be left because of COVID is going to be a key aspect to deal with, and particularly with no language schools as well. However, staycations are going to come in, so that's going to be good. And the amount of investment in Torbay is astounding. You know, if you add up the millions, which I think Jim had done, and was probably going to tell everybody of how many hotels are going up. I think there's 4 major hotels aren't being built at the moment, which will give great capacity for people coming on staycations. And also, it's just a lot of investment coming in. I mean, we heard, didn't we, this week, which was the other chunk of investment we had? Oh, the railway over at Hitchin as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And then also for a lot of the planning, the town planning. I think that
we've got Town Deal, New High Streets Fund. I don't know if we've heard about that yet, but maybe we'll find out soon. And the station. So, I mean, it's great to have you on with us and sharing those thoughts about the. You're right. If the high street could be dying, so if we don't change and adapt it, we need to save it, and that's the whole moral of the Christmas Carol. So, without further ado, I think we're going to try and bring Jim back in a little bit later. But I do have Tim Jones hopefully here with us in our gallery. So I'm going to bring Tim in to join us now to give us the Southwest Business Council's view. Hopefully Emily can hear me. Otherwise, we're going to be have to sing another song.
No, I'm Steve. I'm with you. If you are hearing me loud and clear, that's
Tim,
absolutely great.
We can't see you, but we can hear you. So tell us all about it, Tim.
I don't know what I was on visuals, but you've trumped everyone with your wonderful costume yet again, Steve. So congratulations for that. You're lost in your current career. That's all I could say. Yeah. So Southwest Business Council has been unbelievably busy. I'll just very briefly touch on a few of the issues we're dealing with at the moment. We've been involved in a lot of business turnarounds. Any business that's been in transition over the period, good example of that, which was not COVID related, was Appledore Shipyard, which I'm sure you've now read the press on that now becomes part of Harland and Wolff, which is the owner of Belfast Yard. The new owners there have got a very ambitious program, very hopeful that they're going to be building capital ships for the Navy in the near future. We've got a whole series of opportunities for businesses that have reached the buffers in terms of current funding, but they're in the market. There are a lot of investors looking to try and take businesses forward so that we can improve the business investment and the business stock that we've got. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Swallowfield perhaps is a good example up in Bideford. They make over-the-counter cosmetics. They've closed in Bideford, but we're making sure that their business in Wellington remains. And a really sad loss was Oscar Mayer, who were based in Charge, 600 jobs there making sandwiches for Waitrose, lost those. But there's some great examples of things that are about to happen. So Glendennings, you may be aware, I'm sure, that Glendennings have got a major application in for a new quarry at Ashburton, which will give them 50 years of new life. And what a fabulous project at Buckfastleigh, their new care village, which has just gone in for planning. All these are areas that we are currently supporting. It's not an easy job, this business of trying to make sure that business recovery can be achieved. Probably the most bizarre that I've dealt with recently was a Medi-Spa, a very highly specialist Medi-Spa in West Devon, which has a huge number of clients already booked up, very important jobs for the area. Trying to get the final bits of the building block in place for that needs a drug license. The Home Office refused to process that because it didn't fit a priority in the context of other COVID priorities. So it's not always that easy. We get involved in a number of very interesting dialogues with some of the big institutions who look a bit remote from the Southwest perspective. We had a very good hour and a half with the Governor of the Bank of England last week looking at access to finance. That's a really interesting area that we've been involved in. Some of the stuff that is becoming apparent as to how we might move things forward, Exeter Airport's perhaps a good example of that. Their turnover currently down 90%. What a huge problem that is to try and sustain that and see a successful future for that. The government and the local authorities there have provided some business rate relief and are building, for those who know Exeter Airport, they're building a much improved road from the airport concourse up to the hotel and the training centre. That's money in the bank, and the government have just announced that they're going to provide an £8 million support package for the airport. What really is most interesting doing about the airport is something which some of you may have read about, a free port. This is a government initiative to set up, I prefer to call them free trade zones rather than free ports, but the government have given it a title. They're going to establish 10 of those around the country, maybe more if the quality of the applications is good enough. Essentially, Exeter Airport has teamed up with Plymouth to make an application for that. Within the zone, effectively, there are lower taxes, trade tariffs and duties, and it's a huge opportunity for the Southwest region. Torbay very definitely will be a participant in that. We've continued to work on the cybersecurity initiatives. It's a problem that just isn't going to go away. All the businesses that we're dealing with, big and small, have got a problem. We've teamed up with the regional crime unit, and we've now established a partnership with them for a Southwest Cyber Resilience Centre, national programme funded by the Home Office, covering the whole of the region. This is something that all businesses can access, and there's an advisory group there and a whole lot of specialist reports and monitoring and mentoring programmes that are available. All of this is accessible on our websites. We continue to work, Steve, you'll have to tell me when I've run out of time. We continue to work very hard on some of the government's initiatives. So the planning white paper sounds a pretty boring document to think about, but the relevance of that in terms of how our planning systems are going to play out in the future is being debated in every town hall at the moment, and we need to get that right if we're going to ensure that we've got really good delivery, the growth delivery that we need for employment opportunities. And we've been involved, and we routinely get involved with a government team looking at some of the initiatives that they announce. And for those who are as boring as I am, the fine print around the Chancellor's statement, the spending review statement, was an interesting document. The Southwest starts well behind the curve in terms of government spending. We are second bottom on the list in terms of government spending in the UK. We're jointly second bottom with Yorkshire and Humber, and only just ahead of the East Midlands. London gets significantly more than we do. So public spending per person, if you want the details, in the Southwest is £9,193. The UK average £9,895. So when the government say they're going to level up the Southwest and they're going to level up the UK economy, then our ears pricked up. And a series of announcements have been made. The Chancellor made a statement. If you want to read it, then there's a programme document that supports this. So his statement needs to be read with the national infrastructure strategy. And if you look at those two things together, you see what the government is intending to do to try and level up. And we read that with great enthusiasm, expecting that there was going to be a lot of investment for the Southwest. There is a bit, not a lot. Most importantly, the Stonehenge Tunnel, the A303, which is absolutely fundamental to opening up our second corridor, the A303 second corridor link to London, absolutely fundamental, £1.2 billion programme. We've done some work for the government on that to evaluate the benefit of that, and we've come up with a figure that shows the benefit over the next 20 years is about £4 million to the Southwest economy. That's a really interesting project. Other than that, Plymouth got a bit of money, £59 million for road and cycle improvements, but all the rest went either in Somerset or further north. There was a little bit of money that came into the system for undoing what dear old Beeching did in the 1960s when he cut a lot of our railway lines. Jim will remember all of this, I'm sure. They're reopening the Oakhampton line finally. Goodness me, that's been a debate we've had for such a long time. But the Oakhampton line finally formally reopening it. It operates already as a private line. And crucially in there, finally in writing, confirmation that the new station fund will include Edgingswell. Hooray. How long have we waited for that announcement? And for those who are a little bit further up the line, they're reopening the stations at Wellington and Columpton as well. So it's a bit of a mixed picture as to what the government really mean by levelling up. We get involved in discussing how we're going to implement some of these programmes. They've put some money on the table, a £4 billion levelling up fund. When talking to the civil servants about how mature that programme was and how well thought through it was, the official I was talking to said, well, it probably took about 24 hours to come up with the idea, and we didn't do a lot of background research on it. A lot of policy is made up on the hoof, and that's the way politics works, I'm afraid. But there is an opportunity for areas to bid into chunks of money, £20 million chunks of money, and the Business Council gets involved in these projects to try and shape that. We do a lot of work behind the scenes to try and shape that and make sure that we get our fair share of that. And then the final bit, Steve and the team, it's just a quick plug for an international conference we're running, South West Business Council, we're running on Friday. If you want to join us on that, we've got legal experts, we've got the DTI, we've got two of the most interesting people, an Australian guy who represents for the Chinese government 150 million of the Chinese population in southwest China, looking to do more trade with the UK. And we've also got a presentation from an extraordinary lady who is called Queen Diambi. I'm not going to give you her full title, who's a trade ambassador for the African Union. She comes from the Democratic Republic of Congo, but she represents sub-Saharan Africa. Why are we talking to Queen Diambi? Because we're running a collaborative program with her around environmental improvements, and the link there most tangibly is a program that is being developed across Africa about plastic-free initiatives, and that ties up with the program Southwest Business Council is running about a plastic-free marine environment for our coastline. A really fascinating project, and if you want to hear a real live Her Royal Highness Queen Diambi, then she's on a live link with us on Friday. Steve, I've probably overrun time, but hopefully that gives you a bit of a flavour of what we're doing.
Yeah, it's a fantastic roundup, Tim, and I'm sorry we couldn't see you. I think Emily sent you a note to enable your camera, but your privacy has been respected.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah.
As ever, I mean, it is a quick roundup, and it's great that it's a great segue into Anne-Marie Bond, Chief Executive of Torbay Council, Interim Chief Executive of Torbay Council, and Steve Darling, the political lead for Torbay Council. Interesting to hear what their views are, having heard what you say about these pots of money that are available. And how we can pitch for those. I know there's been a lot of work going on. There has been one question come in from Tony Medawar in relation to the levelling up drive. Does the Southwest need an Andy Burnham to be taken as seriously as the government does the North? Is the voice of business joined up, e.g. with the LEP? So,
if you want me to answer that, Steve, if you read the script that I've just talked about, the Chancellor's statement and the National Infrastructure Strategy, then the language in there is all about mayors, elected mayors. Politicians don't like this, but that's the language of government is very clear on those documents.
Thank you for that quick, short and concise answer. So hopefully that's answered your question, Tony. So with that, great segue into Anne-Marie and Steve. I believe you're going to go. Which song would you want with your presentation?
I'm not sure we chose a song, thanks, Steve.
Over to you.
Good morning, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Anne-Marie Bond, and I've been the Interim Chief Executive of the Council since the 1st of August. This is my first Breakfast Bites. So, whilst new to the role as Interim Chief Executive, been with the Council for a long time, so well aware of the opportunities and challenges that as a place that we face. Now, I do have my Christmas bauble jumper on, but not particularly visible. So, but I promise it's there. I am complying with the dress code today. Steve, did you want to introduce before we made a formal start?
Yeah, I will. Yeah, so I'm Steve Darling, leader of Torbay Council. The nearest I could get to was, as far as a Christmas jumper was concerned, was a fancy dress Christmas tree, which actually wouldn't have looked too much out of place alongside the elf that we have on the call with us. I was also reflecting to myself, who's Scrooge on the call? I know it can't be Steve Reynolds, because I know earlier on in the year he was talking about putting bags of cash out on the pavement bounce back loans and asking people just to come and take them away for him. So that scares me. But as far as what we're here to talk about, Christmas past. After talking about the way forward as elected mayors, well, strangely enough, we've been there and got the T-shirt for elected mayors, and I don't think people were particularly pleased with elected mayors and what they brought us in Torbay. I would suggest that it was more of a transactional relationship that we were seeing happening around elected mayors, rather than that strategic vision that we need to see, particularly with the last incumbent. And that gave us an opportunity to up being leader of the council on the 28th of May 2019 to be a more partnership and inclusive approach. Clearly on Torbay Council, I'm a Lib Dem, and we were working in partnership with the independents with a memorandum of understanding to make sure that we know what the rules are around our relationship. But to be honest, the vast majority of the time we can almost finish each other's sentences, because we have a clear mission of how we want to be more inclusive in Torbay with our communities, and how we want to turn the tide on poverty, because we do see that as being extremely important for us as a partnership. Anne-Marie, I'll pass on to you now.
Okay, so Steve, if that was the past, bringing us then into the present, and we can't talk about the present without reference to the pandemic, and Angela's already obviously touched upon that. And I think absolutely our communities and their resilience have been challenged as never before, but yet our communities have come together and supported one another like never before, whether this be neighbourly help, wider community help through the voluntary sector, or for the support that businesses have been providing to one another and to our communities. There's been amazing business support in respect of the local outbreak engagement board. I know that Steve and Jim both sit on that, in terms of getting that message out to all sectors of our communities about the role they have to play in managing the pandemic, but also in terms of the economic recovery plan, which absolutely is so critical to you all. And whilst the end is slowly coming into sight, there's no doubt that we need to work together to suppress the virus locally, continue that, support providing to our communities, so that we can absolutely be in the best place for that recovery and renewal thereafter. Steve, I think if we move away from the pandemic, you were going to pick up on the successes currently of the partnerships focus upon residents and communities.
Yes, yeah, and I would suggest that, as I said earlier on, one of our key priorities is turning the tide on poverty in Torbay, and around that, the crucial issue to us is that we are facing in Torbay some of the most deprived communities in the southwest. We are actually the most deprived local authority in the southwest of England, from Swindon down to the Isles of Scilly. So it is a big mountain for us to climb, but part of that is being a more enabling council, which means that reaching out to the communities and giving people more permission to get engaged and do things. We've mentioned that the COVID champions earlier on, which is the latest iteration of that. We've also been more inclusive despite the pandemic. Before it started, we tried to take more of a inclusive approach of when we're doing consultation, such as our budgets 12 months ago. We tried to sit down and had conversations with people, rather than having that set piece meetings that you tend to have, where you've got the important people up at the front and the audience in front. We do want to have that more inclusive approach. And we've also started community visits, where myself, Anne-Marie as the interim chief exec, and Darren Cowell as deputy leader of the council have been out to Brixham in the last few weeks, before we had the lockdown, our second lockdown, and engaged with the community at that grassroots level, because I think that's really important. Whilst we need strong strategies to drive positive change in our communities, we've also got to keep our feet on the ground and be listening to people, so we've got that real lived experience and be able to build that into what we're doing in Torbay. And Anne-Marie, I'm going to pass you on to another real success story as far as our children's services. Anne-Marie, if you can cover some of that, please.
Absolutely, thanks, Steve. And I think, talking about the most vulnerable in society and the levels of deprivation, wanted to take the opportunity to briefly touch upon improvements that the council with partners is making in respect of the delivery of children's social care. Our challenges in respect of delivery and good delivery of children's social care are well known, but this year has been significant for the council in that in January we formally separated from the arrangement that had previously been in place to partner with Plymouth City Council in the delivery of our children's, and that's enabled the council to drive the agenda and the work required in order to aim for the position of delivering good services. Now, the extent of the work can't be underestimated, but there's no doubt that the scale and pace of change is considerable. And to echo the words of our government-appointed commissioner just yesterday, that the delivery of children's services in Torbay is unrecognisable to that which it was only a very short period ago. That's absolutely a cause for celebration for those most vulnerable in our society, whilst ensuring that we don't lose focus on the further work that's still to be done, and still to be done collectively, because child protection is society's issue, clearly with the local authority taking the lead, but it's for all of us to work together in terms of how we support the most vulnerable in our society. So, Steve, if I pass back to you in terms of the opportunities for the physical regeneration of the bay, obviously Tim's spoken about that a little this morning, but there's lots to celebrate currently.
Yeah, and I think probably one of the biggest ones that we've had in recent weeks, and it's been worked on for many years. Both the previous administration set the foundations. I think it's important that we acknowledge that. As far as the town deal and getting that over the line, we got £22.9 million, but it isn't just purely about physical infrastructure. It's trying to get partnership working together through that town deal board. And I think that is extremely important as far as that collaboration, that having that board working together. And I was really pleased that Swithin Long, our cabinet member for regeneration in Torbay, was actually last Friday on a showcase event where because only 7 local authorities got their town deals over the line, whereas there are dozens more throughout the country. Swithin was on a showcase event telling people how to get theirs across the line and how to work in partnership with their local communities. So that's going to have significant change, but it is about reshaping our town centre, acknowledging that it is a bit too linear, making sure that we've got more people living in the town centre and decommissioning some of our retail and seeing how we can get more, those people are, the way that people work in offices are changing, but those people who do still need to go to an office, how can we get more of that happening in the town centre? That's Torquay. And I couldn't walk away from Torquay without touching on Debenhams. We took the bold step as a local authority this year to buy the Debenhams buildings. I keep on having to catch myself and say, no, we didn't buy Debenhams, because I'm not sure if that would be a good thing to do, particularly in light of the news today. So whilst it has been sadly a zombie organisation for quite some years, the Debenhams model, and with the demise of Arcadia, which clearly owns a number of outlets in Debenhams, it has brought that into question their future. So at least rather than it being left to potentially rot for years, like we saw around the corner where we've got the Hampton via Hilton coming online, that we as a local authority own that, so we're masters of our own destiny on that really important site, and being able to drive positive change if the worst does happen to the Debenhams organisation. Going over to Paignton, I would flag up that we had hoped that the future high streets would be announced last week. We're expecting that with the Chancellor's statement. Sadly, that isn't the case, but I know myself and colleagues have visited the 2 hotels that were being built on the seafront in Paignton, and it is building on those strengths is so important for us in Torbay. And then going across to Brixham, we visited Brixham, as the leadership team at Torbay in the last few weeks, because we felt it was, we were alive to the fact that we got the town deal and future high street, so we didn't want them to feel left out in the cold. And so for them, we're there's two elements of what we're trying to drive there. There's the former central car park in Paynton, sorry, I always call it Paynton, in Brixham, where there's a regeneration opportunity. It was the local community identified that there was the opportunity to build some accommodation on top and bring some additional life to the town centre there. But also we're really working hard to see how we can expand the fishing offer, because Brexit, whether like it or loathe it, there are changes coming down with the fishing industry, and I understand there's loads of lemon sole in the channel, there are opportunities there. So expanding that port is really important, because that is an integral part of what makes Brixham tick is that fishing industry. And then I'll now pass on to you, Anne-Marie.
Okay, and Steve, I'm just conscious of time, because I think we've probably already had our 10 minutes that we were allotted. So probably jumping a little bit then into the future in terms of, what the opportunities are then, and, for the council and its commitment, absolutely, working together is absolutely vital, and only by working together will we achieve the full potential for the bay. And in that respect, the strategic partnership, Torbay Together, is absolutely critical. The strategic partnership has been key in terms of that lobbying approach regarding the town deal, and there's great representation and business representation again on that strategic partnership. We've recently agreed that now's the right time to refresh the collective vision for the bay, both on a place and a people basis, but importantly, and it links through to what Tim said earlier in terms of ensuring that there's the pipeline of projects to make the most of the opportunities, whether that's through the UK Shared Prosperity Fund or through the Levelling Up. And it's only the collective force of that strategic partnership will we absolutely deliver those great opportunities for Torbay. So Steve, on that basis, just pass back to you for a conclusion.
Yeah, no, I'll do a brief conclusion. Thank you, Anne-Marie. So I would suggest that we're at a critical time. I think for Torbay, coming out of the pandemic, it's really positive news that there's a vaccine on the horizon. Yes, we've got an awful winter to get through, but I'm sure pulling together, we will achieve it. I think the biggest lesson that I've learned by being leader of the council is that it is all about partnership building. And I think that the pandemic has actually strengthened our partnership working, whether that is with the local NHS trust or the third sector, as in charities and the voluntary sector. We can get the other side of this winter with a really strong offer as far as how we can build Torbay, because it is an inspirational place to live and work. And I would just say that we're so lucky living in Torbay, and we've just got to make sure that more of our communities can enjoy Torbay by growing the wealth in Torbay. Thank you.
Well, thank you both, Steve and Anne-Marie. It is really good to have, basically, we're hearing it from the top today. So thank you. And if somebody comes along to me, somebody has done, say, oh, I've got this project and how do I get it heard? What's the best channel to put a project through so that we don't feel like, well, we're just in a pile and, not appreciated? What's the best way?
I would say email either of us. It's usually our names and then torbaycouncil.gov.uk, right. and then we can bat it on to the appropriate people.
Lovely. Okay, well, really appreciate your support today, and thanks for entering into the spirit. It's great, as Jim Parker said just now, it's great to see Steve Darling wear a Christmas hat. Fantastic. So, and I do own up to being Scrooge, being the banker, but like you say, we've shoveled out 10 years worth of lending in just 7 months. It's going to be very interesting on the liquidity front next year. So we are running on, but it's Christmas, so we're having a bumper edition, and we're going to get this all in, and it's fantastic. We've got 52 people on the call at the moment, and if we run over, so what? It's Christmas coming. All of this will be recorded and be available for playback on YouTube. I'm hoping our next speaker is going to appear now. Somebody, the big word community has really come to the fore. Katie Kavanagh from Reform. Are you there, Katie? I'll take that as a no. So Jim, Great to have you back.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Back now.
Can't see you, Katie.
It's not working. I only appear for national press now, so
Well, oh yeah, absolutely. Katie, look, we've got a picture of you on the screen, so at least people can know a bit about you, and everyone else has seen you on telly. So come on, tell us what's been going on since we saw you many months ago with Reform, please.
gosh, so it's been incredibly busy in response to the first lockdown and the second lockdown. So working with a team of volunteers from across the Bay and lots of incredible local businesses, we have delivered over 50,000 meals and 50,000 food packages to families in need across the community. And we are continuing that for Christmas, which I'll go into in a minute. As well as that, working with the amazing students at South Devon College, we are renovating UB40's old tour bus, and that is well on its way to being a mobile community centre, which I'm super excited about. So when the mobile community centre is on the road, we'll be able to support families in need.
And how do you see that actually being practical? What does the bus do? What's it like?
So I came up with the idea a year ago, over a year ago now, and sometimes vulnerable families are referred to as hard to engage with, and no one is hard to engage with, they just haven't been engaged with properly or effectively. So the idea of a mobile community centre is to go to people rather than waiting for them to come to you. So on the bus we will have an industrial working kitchen where local restaurant owners can come on and make the meals that they've been making for the families for the last 6 months. We will also have a storytelling area. So we did refer to it as a library, but library, the term can be quite archaic now, and sometimes it can put fear into people if they're not really kind of interested in literature. So we decided on a storytelling area where we're going to have spoken word poets, we're going to have artists, songwriters, storytellers, and what we want to do is engage with the community, families, children, and increase their vocabulary as well, because we're hearing lots about local businesses coming, getting bigger in the Bay, and lots of hotels coming up. Great, but we need to look at, are people ready for employability if they're not employed? How can we do that? And one of the biggest factors is actually people's self-confidence and the way they use language. So the storytelling area will be massive, and I'm really excited about that.
Well, it does sound exciting. It'd be nice to get an image of the bus on the screen, but I don't know if anybody's been following. Anybody's been following Reform, they will have seen the big green bus and also the army of people that have been engaged with. Have they ripped it all out yet? What stage is it at?
The students, the construction students, it's been brilliant. It's actually at South Devon College now, and they have they're leading on it. So they're leading on getting rid of everything. They're leading on the base of the design, and that's the whole point of it. We wanted to work with as many people in the community as possible to actually make people feel that this is theirs. So when the big green bus drives past, they feel a part of it. And if you feel that, it's going to be much easier to engage with people. We've had Interlight, yeah, there it is. It takes your breath away, to be honest. But we had Interlight recently. They donated £2,500 for our Food for Torbay project, and have donated, so any equipment, any materials we need, they have given to us for free. Our kitchen has been given to us for free. Everything on boards has been donated. We've got tradespeople, really amazing tradespeople who are giving up their time for free to make a difference to our community, and that has to be celebrated.
That sounds like it's in true big build style, doesn't it, to steal somebody else's
Call me Nick Knowles.
Yes. Much better looking, of course. So, but Katie, can you give a shout out to these wonderful businesses that have been preparing the meals for you?
Absolutely. So we have Carey Arms, we have Me and Mrs Jones, Below Decks, Yum Sing, Shoreline, The Curious Kitchen in Brixham, Cactus Kitchen. We have Roots greengrocers who supply all of our fresh food as well, all the ingredients. We have Doran Packaging and Torbay Packaging who give us the containers for the meals as well. We have local businesses, local hotels that have given us funding. We have people in the community, Absolute Sales and Lettings, they've been supporting us. Cabana Homes have supported us. Southend College, their catering students make meals for us. It's incredible the amount of people in our community that want to help. And I think the Ghost of Christmas Past is maybe the charity sector and businesses haven't always collaborated effectively, but what this has done is showed that you can, that everyone has a vested interest in Torbay. Everybody wants Torbay to be better. So working collaboratively will make a massive difference.
You know, you have just summed everything up there so perfectly. That's fantastic. Katie, really admire what you're doing. It's great to have a TV celebrity on our shows, even though you are hiding your image. So one day we'll get you a new camera for Christmas, shall we? So, but I'm going to see if we can move on now into looking at maybe vision and what's actually happening in the hospitality sector, which is really hurting at the moment. And I'm going to bring in Sean White, and there he is with his Christmas tree. So Sean White from WeSup. Now, Sean, you owned a cafe, bistro, restaurant, hospitality, leisure business, almost in the middle of this. Tell us about it.
I'll tell you about it. Yeah, so good morning, everybody. Yeah, so I own WeSup, which is down here in Torquay Marina, and we've been a business for 11 years, but we've been in Torquay now for well, June 1st last year we opened, and we're a water sports centre essentially. We specialise in stand-up paddleboarding, but the opportunity to take on this building down here at the marina was the opportunity to create a kind of multi-sport lifestyle hub. And the idea is that we could use this amazing space to bring people together so that they could start and finish their adventures. They can have a place to just be and share stories and be inspired by where they live. And you know, my business has been kind of growing communities out of the kind of approach that we have, which is building clubs, building kind of a family out of our customers, and bringing them in, experiencing the outdoors, experiencing where they live, and give them a sense of pride for where they are. And so when we came to Torquay, we had absolutely no idea of the landscape of Torbay. We just knew what we wanted to achieve with our business and set about doing that. And I've got to say, guys, it was a rocky start, because I don't think Torbay was ready for the kind of modern approach to business that we brought. It took an enormous amount of connection and communication with the local business community so that we could figure out how to actually access the local community here and build this business for local people. This business was never going to be about how do we service the tourist industry. It was always going to be about how do we service local people, get local people inspired on where they live, and seize the opportunity for a boom in the tourist kind of season. And one of the primary things that we wanted to do, which, you know, we couldn't understand why this is not happening in Torquay, is kind of deliver a message that we're here all year. You know, we're not just going to be here to service the super busy times of the spring and summer. We want it to be a place for people to be all year round. So, you know, through the darkest winters, you know, when the wind is howling, we want people to come in with their dogs and with their kids and enjoy great local produce, you know, that's prepared with real care and give people a level of service that makes people feel loved and like, you know, we respect that this is an incredible place to live. They want awesome places to go and things to do all year round. So we took this trans-seasonal approach to our business, which meant, you know, the first lockdown was a tough pill to swallow, but we weren't worried because we knew that when we came out the back of it, we had built such a great local community base for our business that, you know, and our local base for our business is supporting our business's economy. if we came out of lockdown, the first one in the summer, and got to capitalise on tourists, great. If we didn't, we had all our lovely locals there, and that's all we really strive for.
And that, you say about trans-seasonal, you're very much trying to flatten out the shoulder months or increase the shoulder months. How do you see? I've been asked a question here. There are some fantastic plans and opportunities for the future of Torbay, but how are these translated into actual positive collaborative action to deliver on those opportunities and create successful outcomes? Now, that's quite a question from Charlie Brunier. How do you see that collaboration can work? Katie mentioned it. What do you see coming forward for the Bay? What could we do?
What could we do? What we could do is everything and anything to make people feel proud of where they live. We need to re-engage with the spaces that have become derelict and left to the rats. We need to kind of take back those spaces and give them purpose. This coastline, this stretch of the world that we live is amongst the most beautiful that I've ever lived, that I've ever paddled. And I've paddled all around the world. Last week I paddled from Brixton to Exmouth and just followed the coast the whole way. And I was just dazzled by the natural beauty that we have here. And do you know what? I came across a guy about 2 hours into my trip who was swimming. His name's Oliver. Never met him before. He poked his head up as he saw me, and he was just beaming this smile. And in that 2 hour stretch, I had seen 2 kayakers, 1 paddleboarder. We're in lockdown, right? You'd expect that during a lockdown, every man and his dog would be enjoying the coastline. And Oliver looked up at me and he said, "Where is everyone?" And I said, "I just don't know that. I can't believe that people are missing this." And it resonated with me so deeply. I realized all of a sudden that all this talk about engaging with the ocean and dealing with the issue of plastic in our ocean and how people are kind of like living by the coast, we haven't engaged with people enough to make them proud or engaged with the water. So they're never going to understand messages about the issues surrounding beach plastic and all that sort of stuff. There's an enormous amount of work that we need to do to inspire people to really genuinely connect with the sea and where they live, because that is all that we have when we live down in the southwest. Well, it's not all that we have, but it's a primary reason why we live here. It's for better connections to the environment, it's for better connections to people, and a better connection to ourselves. And I think that there's just an enormous amount of work to do to give people resources so that they can access the sea, they can enjoy the coastline in a kind of new, more modern way. And I think that the councils and the TBA and so for anybody who has these levers for change should be looking at these opportunities and actioning stuff quickly so that we don't get left behind.
I've pulled up one of your images on the screen there, Sean. Can you see?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, tell us what that is.
It's a vision piece for Beacon Cove. I'm new to the Bay. I feel sometimes maybe a little outspoken, but I look at Beacon Cove and I just saw this gem before I knew about its heritage. And then I just did a little asking around, and I made friends with Richard Maddock at K. Elliott's Architects. And he is an incredible wealth of knowledge on the history of Torbay, and pointed out some videos that showed Beacon Cove, Peaks Cove, and all these little spaces. There's these incredible spaces for local lifestyle and leisure back in the day. And these places, there are some actually nice initiatives that are bringing Beacon Cove back to life, which I'm become aware of. But they had been left for such a long time derelict for the sole use of people causing antisocial behaviour, drink and drug abuse. They have no purpose, and I just don't understand what the reason is. How could nobody be looking in that space going, wow, that is such an opportunity. That's a corner of the world that should be championed, that should be treasured, and it's just a prime spot that could reinstall a little bit of pride and raise aspirations of people who live here.
Sean, I'm going to hold it there. I've put the image out. It'll be interesting to see whether how that gets the juices flowing.
By the way, that one's of Peaks. That image there is of Peaks Cove, which is just down from the Imperial Hotel, underneath the World War II bunker, and that's the inspiration. There is a Norwegian swim house where local people could go down to the swim platform, hang up their towel, and take the steps down into the sea. At the moment down there, the railings are falling into the water. It's a dangerous sight, and again, just left to kind of abuse. Imagine something like that down there, which is so affordable, so attainable.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate you joining in today. And Sean, really would love to see you more, see you involved in these things. And I think we've got Jim here from Torbay, who runs Torbay Together. We had Anne-Marie and Steve Darling on earlier, and we really do. There is a real will to do something.
Sounds
so
like it.
I'm not saying this can happen. It's not going to be under your Christmas tree on Christmas Day necessarily. There's always next year. So
yeah, I was really inspired by everybody. It's great to hear all of the positive stuff that everyone who's been speaking is achieving, because people like me who run these small independent businesses, unfortunately, we're not privy to enough information that talks about all of the good work that is actually being done. So it's great to have heard it today.
Yeah, got a couple of questions come in for you, Sean. This is going to really put you on the spot, okay? Right, I've got two questions. Well, actually, one's a comment. One is actually from Tony Medawar, who's running the Agatha Christie Festival next year. There is a wild swimming event forming part of the 2021 Agatha Christie Festival. So do you think you could help us push that?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if they need any water safety, we can be out on our paddleboards offering a little bit of safety, can't we? It's a nice little collaboration.
Yeah, we'll get Brendan out there as well, won't we, from Above Water. So
yeah.
And also now this, this is one of my pet thoughts, and I know I'm going to speak out of turn here, but in the background on the left of that image there is Living Coasts. Now, I don't know what's going on, I don't know what's happening, but what would we like to happen? What would you see, eh?
Imagine, guys and girls, an opportunity where this incredible space for people to be, where you could run to us, swim to us, cycle to us, you could paddle to us, and you could have this place where people could, again, create adventures, share stories, and sit there looking over, which is the most incredible view of the bay, absorb where they live, and create a beacon into Torquay that would kind of like create a change in narrative for the town, a space where people would be, really proud to come back to, because that's the biggest question. If we spend all this money, all this time attracting people into Torbay, what are we going to do to make sure that they come back? If you had a landmark property like that on the corner there, and you created a multi-sport leisure hub that was for active people that engaged in positive mental health, in positive physical health, and you created events and this social space where people could be in connect with themselves and with the environment, I just don't think there's anything more pertinent that we could do with that space.
You think what you've done on Gilly Beach down in Falmouth, it's the go-to place there. You've got a great vibe going, and you're also talking about how we can provide something for our locals and the staycationers. So it's something for us and something to be proud of. So really, really appreciate you, Sean, joining in today. And I thought I'm just going to check it out there now, and hopefully there'll be no snipers picking me off in the background. But I think that Torbay, we need to see this kind of stuff happening. Last but not least, Jim, we froze you out. It's a shame. And because you are Uncle Jim sat there with your rocking horse, do you want to give us just a very, very brief resume of what you were going to say?
Yeah, I mean, it's all been said, thank God. Because Sean really has said what I was going to sort of sum up, and I won't go into the boring past and all that's happened with Boris and the lockdown and things like that. But and I'm going to give my paper a plug, because the whole point of the weekly was naturally inspiring Sean, which is Torbay, and nobody more than me and our team recognise that we have a great place to live in and to celebrate. And that's what our theme is all about, and that's why I think we've got a brilliant future ahead of us. And I do get what you're saying when you talk about now is the time, for the want of a better word, and we're at the crossroads, I think, and Steve and Anne-Marie have alluded to that. We've got some great things happening. I don't think that we've ever been in this position in Torbay where we've had so much investment from the government. Yeah, we could do with more, but we've got millions coming in. We've got the private companies now interested in building for the future. We've got the likes of you with your inspirational thoughts and what you do with the Katie and the inspirational community feel to it. So I think we're at the crossroads, and I agree with you totally that we need to grab that moment. And I think we are slowly but surely getting to those areas like Living Coasts, like Beacon Cove. Yeah, it's been a derelict for too long, but I think we're finally getting around to saying to Sean White, it's there, grab it, make it happen. But I think you need to make sure that you're talking to the right people at the right time, is my advice, to make sure we turn those visions into happenings and outcomes. And that's the whole point of Torbay Together, is to make sure that vision becomes a happening. There's no point going in circles just talking about things. We are at the crossroads, and we've got a great chance to build a greater Torbay. So that's my Christmas present, Steve, is Torbay's naturally inspiring, and we need to grab it and forge ahead for the future. Yeah,
that's fantastic roundup, Jim, and thank you for the support that you are giving on this with Torbay Together. We see each other on many calls, don't we? We're sort of zoomed out, but no, we know it's important, and that's why we do it. And of course, making the best of our UNESCO heritage, our UNESCO status, we need to capitalize on this. The opportunity has been given to us, so we can now take it. There's a will, there's a way. Now, talking about today, we're actually right on the end of our time allowance. But just to let you know that, Emily, I don't know if you're there, are you? But as a little small part of our exec team with Angela, Jim, Emily and I, we did decide to have a Christmas party. We're not supposed to. The only thing is, we had this Christmas party, and unfortunately, we got caught on CCTV. Em, would you run the playback, please? When we have the next live event, I need to see you doing those gymnastics, all right? So I think we've had enough for today. I don't know if we've got any of our panelists still in the room, whether you want to bring them back on screen so we can say the final goodbye for Breakfast Bites for 2020. So have we got them there? Yeah, Tim. Oh, we got Tim now. We can see Tim, everybody, Anne-Marie. So I just want everybody's arms in the air, because it has to be that time now. Everybody. We say thank you very much. Happy Christmas, everyone. Stay safe. Please be COVID champions. Let's beat this and get through 2021 and make it a fantastic year. The opportunity's there. Let's take it. Love you all.
Bye. Happy Christmas.